Bednar, actually, David Bednar has not been the same. Former stud closer of the Pirates. He's got a 6.17 ERA this year, and he's who the Cardinals were able to tag to begin that inning last night in the 7th, where they were able to go a little bit gangbusters. So that was kind of good to see, but not good to see if you're David Bednar, which kind of makes you wonder. And I'm not saying this is coming for Ryan Helsley, but when you think about relief pitchers, they are so fickle. Bednar was on top of the world like a year ago. His numbers were unbelievable there for a little while for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you kind of wonder, is that somebody that in the offseason, if the Cardinals are looking to go a little bit of a different direction, not to rebuild necessarily, but to retool and reload, would this be a decent time to trade Ryan Helsley going into the final year of his contract rather than try to either extend him and you're paying the money for a guy that is a relief pitcher, so you just don't know what the future is going to hold? Bednar's only 29 years old in his age 29 season. He might have turned 30. Let me take a quick look at that. Nope, he turns 30 in October, though. So, he's not over the hill by any means. Ryan Helsley's a young guy. He's a young guy, and he's a powerful pitcher. But you wonder if you give him a 4-year extension or something like that, instead of letting him walk into free agency and getting nothing for him, do you end up regretting that down the line? Not because it's Helsley, but because he is a reliever. I'm not judging Helsley on anything to do with Helsley. I'm judging it based on the position he plays. Hard-throwing reliever. We just see those guys tend to burn out. They burn hot and they burn out. And David Bednar last year at a 2.0 ERA led the league in saves with 39. This year, 6.17 ERA, has been demoted to middle relief for one of the worst teams in the NL Central. So that's kind of the way that it can go. Does that serve as a cautionary tale for you Cardinals fans? Or do you just say, Helsley's so good, I don't like this kind of talk, I don't want to hear it, you need to have Ryan Helsley long-term because he's Hell's Bells? Gosh dang it. I could understand either side. The fandom in someone could say, look, that's Ryan frickin' Helsley. You're an insane person if you want to get rid of him when he's at the top of his game. Or the other side of it is more like the business-oriented approach of, you're insane if you don't trade him at the height of his trade value, which could be this coming off season. Knock on wood, provided he stays healthy through the rest of the year. A lot of folks did think they should have traded him at the deadline when the relief market was going absolutely berserk. Could have probably netted a couple of top 100 prospects for him. I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. That feels like a really icky thing. To say you're going to let a Kyle Gibson walk and not pick up his option, to say you're going to let a Lance Lynn walk and not pick up his option, that's one thing. To actively say, hey, this guy that we have under contract we're going to trade him away when he's one of our best players, and look, he's one of the Cardinals' best players, one of the most productive players at their respective positions. That does feel a little bit different. That feels a little bit rebuildy rather than retool-y. But we have seen to the north a team in this division do things like this and do it successfully. How about the Brewers when it comes to Hader, right? They got pieces for Hader that ultimately led to them getting William Contreras. They were prepared to get a guy like that in a 3-team trade when the Atlanta Braves got Sean Murphy. They sent Esteury Ruiz to Oakland at the time, which I guess they're still Oakland for the moment. And that was a deal that netted them William Contreras in a 3-team trade. And he's one of their core pieces now in Milwaukee. They did it this season when it came to Corbin Burns. Now, the jury is still a little bit out on what the return on Burns is going to bring. I know they got DL Hall, a pitcher, back in that trade. And I haven't, truth be told, kept up on exactly what his numbers are right now for Milwaukee, what he's been doing this year. But the team as a whole has been more than fine. DL Hall's got a 4.9 ERA in some limited duty this season for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think he's been in the minors for a bulk of the year, but he's been pretty good down there, 3.7 ERA. He's a 25-year-old, could be a future rotation piece for Milwaukee. They're still winning despite those decisions, is my point. And that's an occasion of people ripped them when they traded Corbin Burns. And you said, you're going to regret it. You're not going to end up in the playoffs because of it. And here they are leading the Central. They're going to win the Central, right? And with Hader, it's kind of the same thing. Ends up coming around, and actually, even in the moment, we ripped them. We said, oh, you cost your team the playoffs that year. The clubhouse tanked after that. It did. It was a move that cost them in the short term. In the long term, though, I think they're thriving as a result of it. That is the kind of tough business decision that we have not seen the Cardinals make. I'm not suggesting that there's a right or wrong answer to it, but this is a topic that's going to definitely extend into the offseason, as we're going to have to kind of dissect it. I just wanted to bring it up in an extended tone here when it comes to that David Bednar. It's an interesting comp insofar as where the Cardinals are going to be. And by the way, if you're trying to trim payroll, Helsley's going to get a huge raise in ARB. It's going to be a massive raise because he's been one of the best relievers in baseball this year. So whether or not that's something that's under consideration, I don't know, but I could see both sides of the fan base kind of being at odds on that. And I don't actually know the right answer, but y'all can tell me your opinion on it because I do think it is an interesting topic. I just don't want to come off as the guy that's like anti-Ryan Helsley to say to trade a player that's so productive on the team. I speak strictly of it through a business standpoint and from the notion of look at what happens sometimes to relievers that look like they're on top of the world, and then maybe they're not anymore after that. But that's kind of a side quest for this podcast.